energy security, its jobs, its environment as well. And in the beginning with the Gigafactory, I mean, that was really linked to a supply chain necessity for the EV, for the Model 3 at the time. It was a pretty audacious, amazing thing, that we had this concept to go and build several 100,000 EVs, which was, 10x more than anyone had ever done successfully or sold. So the first big question was, will anyone even buy that many EVs? But we also knew that if we actually wanted to succeed at that, we would have to have the battery supply, which didn't exist. So we had to preemptively start the Gigafactory project before even knowing if the customers would come or if the sales would come. And that was a nail-biter. We literally had to bring the supply chain, in our case Panasonic there, and was the first real battery maker to take that leap and commit to that factory and that supply chain before knowing really what the customers were going to do. I specifically remember the launch event for the Model 3. It's like distant memory in the EV industry now, but it was kind of a pivotal turning point where there were lines around the block for these. It was like an Apple iPhone launch kind of thing. And, over the course of maybe 3-4 days, there were several 100,000 reservations. And it blew all of the expectations away, even from inside of Tesla at the time. And I remember coming back to the office and being like, holy crap, we need to make this thing bigger. This is, we had kind of gone as far as we could, fundamentally risk it, with our planning, and then we doubled it. Really almost, 1 week to the next.
Thanks for joining us once again. Today we focus on a Tesla secret weapon, and the company actually has what I'll call a side chick in the former CTO, JB Straubel, and the fact that he doesn't cost them on a routine basis, but Tesla has the benefit of having a competent COO that's pretty much always on the job, because his new company, Redwood Materials, is almost adjacent in location to the Gigafactory 1, along with the new semi-factory, an idea that he had come up with. So we wanted to review this today along with his initial comments that you just heard regarding the challenges regarding setting up the Gigafactory and the concern that it might not work out. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the show, like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So, as you know, one of the big battles going on right now is we have Dan Ives of Wedbush in an argument with Elon on X about whether or not he shouldn't stay out of politics to make sure the stock isn't hurt in the process. As you know, Elon's response was shut up. And I plan today to do approximately a 10-minute show, the first 2/3 of the show sort of reviewing the facts, and then the last portion, conclusions. Now, if in fact, the thing about Dan Ives is that he in fact is, we basically have 4 points here. The first one is Dan Ives is a decorated analyst. He has the ear of Wall Street because he's mostly been right on backing Tesla and its potential success. He's now calling for Elon to back out of the politics realm because it's crushing Tesla's stock price because of impact on sales, etc. His questioning Elon's process, I think, is valid. And the reason I think it's valid, obviously, is that there's a car company to run, and having politics sweep in and impact negatively what's going on in that arena is really not a good deal. So I would say that, number 2, why is it that Dan is choosing to bring this discussion out in the public? He could have written a letter to Elon, sent it to Elon, or he could get into proxy battle process to get changes in what might occur. The answer is that we're in an unusual place, I believe, in the history of investing. And that is that the challenge that pops up is that if you look it up, approximately 60%, let's call it 50% of the shares owned are either owned by indexes or large indices own the shares, or it's large institutional funds, let's say like Fidelity or Rowe Price. In most cases, those entities really aren't very activist. They tend to be very passive and supportive of what management's decisions might be. And so, therefore, him going that route is difficult. The other route is, in theory, he could go back to those that are not indexes and try to rally the troops to come after Elon to have major changes made. Good idea, but the problem is that's not going to happen either, because Elon has 13% of shares. And if you look at shareholders that are on his side, like Larry Ellison and some of the other sort of heavy dollar folks, they've been riding with Elon's idiosyncrasies for quite a while. And I would expect that they'll continue to do so until we see a dramatic drop in the share price. The third thing that pops up is people, what about the whole idea of just sell the shares if you don't like what management is up to? That answer is valid. The challenge with that, though, is that when you look at large and still growing stocks in the FANG group, Tesla is one of the few companies out there that's fairly discounted against how much growth there potentially will be coming. They still have robotaxi to roll out. They have the semi coming. They have robots that he's working on. We also have the fact that Tesla's market share in Europe continues to grow, even though it's slower now because of sort of recent statements. So what this adds up to is the fact that I think Dan knows that there's pretty much nothing anyone can do. You can't get rid of him. The board of the company is controlled or set up by Elon and his friends, and there'll be no changes there unless he decides to do so, and he is not inclined to do so. One of the most challenging portions of this whole discussion is the fact that, yes, Elon is 1 day a week allocated to working on Tesla issues, but he has a really excellent bench of a lot of very sharp engineers who, while young, are extremely talented and are able to sort of carry the water for the times when Elon's not there. One of the famous lines about Elon is that, up until he bought Twitter, Elon's jet would land on Thursday and he would be at Tesla for the entire day, mostly at the Fremont office. But there are a number of managers who used to encourage subordinates to make themselves scarce on that day, because Elon actually had a thing where he just would decide he was going to fire people, and it was indiscriminate firing. So if you had talented staff and you wanted to keep them, it might be a good idea for you to take the day off. So the point being that having Elon around all the time, which is one of the things the funds have discussed, it could be a good thing, but he's often talked about the fact that he often will institute new ideas that represent time-consuming shifts in what Tesla's doing, but may not add much revenue. They will add, if you will, engineering complexity. For example, the gull-wing doors, you've seen how that's worked out over time. Next, I wanted to again review the fact that there's a concept called your wife, there's your girlfriend, and there's something called a side piece. Now, J.B. Straubel left Tesla and then came back and returned to the board, I guess 3 years ago. I think this is awesome for the company because he has the respect of Elon. There's no way Elon would have fired him. He left on his own, and he's doing stuff that's reflective of the fact that he's the one that actually came up with the whole idea of what Tesla is currently doing. So his commitment to the success of the company is very strong. And by sitting in his own company, he can get visits from executives from Tesla and help work strategically on future projects and address short-term issues that might pop up, knowledgeable of how they addressed those issues in the past. So I think he couldn't be a better de facto CEO or COO while Elon is off and running on whatever else he's doing, because he knows the company well, he's been around it and he helped start it. And a lot of the big ideas that drive the company, like the Gigafactory, like the semi-truck, were his ideas. So I think that quietly we have a structure for management of Tesla that actually works out pretty well, because we have the backstop of JB to support the success of Tesla. It shouldn't be ignored that there's, the introduction of the new Model Y. There's a bunch of really good engineering things that are going on for Tesla right now. And it's just a matter of time before the company does really well. So hopefully the robotaxi works out and we start seeing a pop in the stock price as a result. So as I shared in the earlier video, when Tesla stock was in the 295 range, it is my belief that we're definitely still in the zone where it's a discount purchasing opportunity, because what you have to keep an eye on is what is the PE ratio of Tesla, and is it fully valued against that PE ratio? I think full value right now, given the robotaxi era, is somewhere between 330 and 350. So I still think that it's at a discount point, and the bump up in the stock price yesterday, in my mind, is a confirmation of that. So we really look forward to your comments on everything shared, and hope you're making some money as it returns to full valuation. As I shared, I just think Mr. Trump has done everything he can negative to Tesla thus far, and at this point, we're really focused on Elon getting some of the operating ideas rolling successfully, and that'll nicely push the stock price up and benefit the company. And hopefully we don't hear statements they're going to jam the stock price when we go to Europe and other places. For today's health tips, we just want a reminder, prior to lovemaking, don't forget only a salad, because it causes most of the blood to be available for your extremities, not digesting food. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. Please take time to like and subscribe. Tschüss, auf Weile, Hitro, Hodaha, Festrasice, Ni hao ma, Kambawa, Namaste, Arrivederci. And in Jamaica, we say enough respect. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.